Dumelang mangwanani mwalelepo vukenjani kekwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Day. You see? Welcome to Africa. Good morning. On Africa Day, you are, of course, joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master as we continue to bring you the most pertinent stories stemming from the African continent and beyond.
You're clearly really excited about Africa
Well
Day.
into it, yes.
I mean, it is a beautiful day. You know, they call it Africa, but of course, we call it home. And
Indeed.
today, as you can see from our
quite
outfits,
clearly is
it's
Africa Day. And you know, it's intended to celebrate and acknowledge the successes of the Organization of African Unity, which was formed on this day, the 25th of May in 1963, in the fight against colonialism and apartheid. Now, this is as well as the progress that Africa has made while reflecting upon the common challenges that the continent faces in a global environment. So to all Africans and lovers of Africa, happy Africa Day. Here's a video on the ever so often aforementioned Africa Day. Today is Wednesday, the 25th of May, and these are your top stories. At least 11 civilians killed in Burkina Faso village attacks. This is according to a governor. At least 11 civilians were killed in attacks on 2 villages in northern Burkina Faso on Sunday, a regional governor said in a statement. Unidentified armed assailants targeted the 2 communities in Seno province, which is among those hit by rising insecurity as jihadist groups with links to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State seek to gain control over once peaceful parts of West Africa's Central Sahel region. In a statement on Monday, Governor Rodolphe Soro did not provide further details on the attacks, but called on locals to be vigilant. A local official, speaking on condition of anonymity, said a further 14 civilians who were recorded as missing after the raids had been found dead. In recent years, Islamist violence has killed thousands of people and forced more than 2 million to flee their homes in the Sahel. On Saturday, the Burkinabe army said 5 soldiers had been killed repelling a large-scale militant attack in the central north region earlier that day. Public frustration with the authorities' handling of the security situation led to protests in Burkina Faso that culminated in a military coup in January. The crisis in the Sahel started when militants took over neighboring Mali's desert north in 2012, prompting France to intervene the following year in an attempt to push them back. But the insurgents have regrouped in recent years and seized more territory.
Now, jihadists killed 30 in northeast Nigeria. Jihadists have killed 30 men in a revenge attack after their commanders died in military airstrikes in Nigeria's northeast Borno state, 2 militia leaders said yesterday. The attack was carried out on Saturday in the village of Mudu in Borno state, near the border with Chad, by jihadists of the Islamic State in West Africa, a government official said. It was only known on Tuesday because of poor quality of the communications network, as the jihadists had destroyed several telecommunications relays in the region. The 30 victims were scrap metal dealers who were in the area looking for burnt-out vehicles, which are plentiful in the village of northern Borno because of the terrorist attacks. Babakura Kolo, a militia leader in the region capital Maiduguri, told AFP. The men killed in the attack had come on foot from camps for displaced people in the town of Ran, 80 kilometers away. Another militia leader, Umar Ari, said ISWAP accused the scrap metal dealers of tipping off the army about their positions in the area. The Nigerian government has announced that it will take action to protect the country's people from the effects of war on the environment, a government official said.
Now, in one of the updates from the Ukraine war, Russian soldier Vadim Shishimarin jailed for life over war crime. A court in Ukraine has jailed a Russian tank commander for life for killing a civilian at the first war crimes trial since the invasion. Captured soldier Sergeant Vadim Shishimarin was convicted of killing Oleksandr Shelipov, 62, in the northeastern village of Chapukivka on 28 February. He admitted shooting Mr. Shelipov, but said he had been acting on orders and asked forgiveness of the man's widow. Many other alleged war crimes are being investigated by Ukraine, and in a conflict where the deliberate targeting of civilians has become one of the defining features, Monday's outcome sets a significant legal precedent. Moscow has always denied its troops have targeted civilians, despite a wealth of evidence to the contrary. This sentencing is unlikely to lead to an immediate change in tactics from the invading forces, but it does bring Oleksandr Shelipov's widow, Katerina Shelipova, justice.
Now, in the monkeypox update, 3 cases of monkeypox suspected in Morocco. Morocco has discovered 3 suspected cases of monkeypox, the first time this has happened in the kingdom, the health ministry announced on Monday. We have detected 3 suspected cases of monkeypox who are in good health and under medical supervision, said Dr. Muad Murabit, coordinator of the National Center for Emergency Public Health Operations. In a statement, Murabit said medical tests were underway and that the results would be known soon. The statement did not state where the suspected cases were detected or the identity of the 3 people. The Ministry of Health has published a surveillance and response plan for the detection and treatment of monkeypox cases and for health protection. Monkeypox, which was eradicated some 40 years ago, has suddenly appeared in recent weeks in countries where it is normally only very rare, Europe and North America. As cases continue to rise, the World Health Organization confirmed on Monday that the situation was atypical, but said it was possible to stop the transmission of the disease between humans.
Africa Development Bank approves $1.5 billion for food crisis. The African Development Bank has approved $1.5 billion emergency program to alleviate the impact of worsening food insecurity due to the Ukraine war, its director said on Monday. About 20 million farmers on the continent will benefit from the fund as Africa faces a shortage of at least 30 million metric tons of food. The program aims to help produce 38 million tons of food. The program aims to deliver seeds, fertilizer and services to farmers and support post-harvest management, the AFDB said in a statement. Now, according to an AFDB statement, the food production program is an unprecedented comprehensive initiative to support smallholder farmers in filling the food shortfall. That brings us to the end of the first half of our top stories. More news after the break.
NMH Ad Spotter spots the daily adverts in all NMH printed editions, from the daily newspapers to the retail specials, as well as weekly, monthly and yearly focus editions. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact adspotter@synergy.com.na. NMH Ad Spotter. Spot it, like it, buy it.
You're watching Africa Good Morning. Getting into the second half of our top stories. Somali minister suspended over charcoal export to Oman, breaking UN sanctions. Somalia's prime minister suspended the foreign minister on Tuesday, citing the authorization of a ship exporting charcoal to Oman in violation of international sanctions. The UN Security Council banned such shipments a decade ago to cut funding for the Islamist militant group Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda franchise fighting Somalia's central government. Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble Control's office said that as well as suspending Foreign Minister Abdisaid Muse Ali, he had ordered an audit and judicial investigation into the ministry's authorization of the shipment.
Zimbabwe's President Mnangagwa blames South Africa's xenophobic attacks on the West. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa blames the recent xenophobic attacks in South Africa on long colonialism, describing it as a racialized war of black African underdogs. He wrote in his pre-Africa Day opinion column published in the state-controlled Sunday Mail an article titled "The Dangers of False and Fake Nationalism in Zimbabwe and South Africa." In South Africa, a whole violent and often lethal movement against Africans has now taken root, he said, in apparent response to Operation Dudula, a pressure group that has renewed anti-immigrant campaigns. Through the operation, one Zimbabwean, Elvis Nyati, 43, was stoned and burned to death on 6 April in Diepsloot, Johannesburg.
Now in our next story, U.S. firms warned about doing business in Sudan. The United States has warned American companies and individuals that doing business with state-owned and military-controlled firms in Sudan could risk their reputation because of the deteriorating human rights situation in the country. While some of these risks had been there before last October's coup, the military takeover and actions since had made the things worse, the U.S. Department of State said. These risks arise from, among other things, recent actions undertaken by Sudan's Sovereign Council and security forces under the military's command, including and especially serious human rights abuse against protesters, said Department spokesman Ned Price. Mr. Price said the U.S. government remained committed to supporting the Sudanese people's aspiration for a civilian-led transition to an elected government. There have been frequent protests against the coup, which have been put down with force, and it is estimated more than 90 people have died.
Staying with Sudan, UN regrets Sudan's refusal to renew officials' visa. The UN mission in Sudan has expressed disappointment over Sudan's refusal to renew the residence visa of one of its senior staff members. Rosalind Marsden, a former UK ambassador and EU representative to Sudan, left the country after the authorities failed to renew her visa. The decision is unfortunate, especially given the recent request of the Sudanese authorities for UNITABS and its partners to devote more attention to support for peace building and mobilizing resources for many priority activities, it said. In the past few months, Sudan has been at loggerheads with UNITAMS over the mission's reporting on human rights violations in the country.
Now, in South Africa, Johannesburg's growing problem of plastic pollution. Johannesburg's landfill sites are bulging with plastic waste. The city's biggest landfill site, located in the Turffontein area, is a hive of activity as waste trucks arrive to drop off their deposits. Despite a 2018 move by South Africa's most populous city, making it mandatory for residents to separate waste from the source, very few individuals actually bother. Informal waste pickers comb through the trash in the hope of finding something valuable. They're trying to recover a variety of materials ranging from plastics, cardboards, bottles and wood before they are flattened. Many of them are registered on the city's database, but some are undocumented foreign nationals operating informally to sell their collection to recycling companies.
That brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we look at a conversation I had with USAID's project management specialist. Stay with us.
Love would come my way, sitting waiting for my life to start. Oh yeah, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd see a brighter day, that I would find some peace of mind, and love would fill my heart. Thanks to you, I got a reason every day to keep believing I can do.
Now, the DREAMS project is an ambitious public-private partnership aimed at reducing rates of HIV among adolescent girls and young women in the highest HIV-burdened countries. Molisa Manyando, USAID's project management specialist, in discussion with Ashwin, shares more on the initiative in the following interview. Let's have a look.
You are with Africa. Good morning. And with me is the USAID Project Management Specialist, Ms. Molisa Manyando. Good morning, Ms. Manyando. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Ashwin. How are you?
I'm all right. So we're going to be talking about dreams, but not the type that you have when you're sleeping. It's a completely different thing with USAID. What is dreams? What does the acronym stand for?
Thank you for the question. So DREAMS stands for Determined, Resilient, Empowered, AIDS-free, safe, mentored and safe adolescent girls and young women. It is a PEPFAR program that has been being implemented by USAID here in Namibia. We are currently working in 9 districts and planning to expand to 2 additional districts in 2023. So the goal of DREAMS is to avert new HIV infections in adolescent girls aged 10 to 24 years old. And we currently work with government ministries as well on our DREAMS project. And the reason why DREAMS is also being implemented, is the realization that there is a 7% HIV new infections in the adolescent girls and young women. So this is why it's such a critical project.
All right. So what approach does DREAMS use?
So DREAMS delivers a package of services. We tend to say it's a layered of services. When a young girl is given this layered of services, they remain HIV. They remain free from HIV risk. And the services that are being implemented include HIV and GBV prevention. There's skills building. There's also access to reproductive and sexual health, access to HIV testing, and we also provide pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is commonly known as PrEP. And PrEP, I'm sure you're aware, it's putting HIV negative people on using antiretroviral so that they remain HIV negative.
Yes.
And there's also GBV education that is provided. But also what DREAMS also does is the realization that these adolescent girls and young women are part of a community. So it's also trying to address the contextual issues within the communities where they found themselves by working with the parents and the families of these adolescent girls and young women, and also addressing and working with male sexual partners of these girls. So for male sexual partners, it's not necessarily the actual male sexual partner, but it's working with men that are characterized through their identification from the girls, because we do ask them to say, who are your male sexual partners? There was a formative assessment that was done, so they had identified several types of men. So it's addressing them using gender norms training and GBV HIV prevention, and also ensuring that we are also linking them to HIV testing, to PrEP as well, provision of condoms, and also referral to voluntary medical male circumcision.
All right. I mean, truly essential work, Ms. Manyando. So does DREAMS exist in any other countries being implemented elsewhere, and why were these countries chosen?
Yeah, so DREAMS, like I said, it's a PEPFAR program. So it does exist in 15 of the sub-Saharan African countries, including Haiti. Haiti is not in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, so the 14 are in Africa. That includes Namibia. And some of the countries, I'll just mention, maybe our neighbors include Botswana, include Zambia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Eswatini, Swaziland. And there's also Kenya and Tanzania, in South Sudan and Cote d'Ivoire. So that's where DREAMS is being implemented. And these countries were selected based on new HIV rates and HIV prevalence rates for adolescent girls and young women in these specific countries.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, bring it back to Namibia. Who are your project managers in Namibia, and how do you identify them, so to speak?
Thank you. So currently our civil society implementing partners are Project Hope Namibia and Achieve. And we also have other partners that are working with Project Hope and Achieve, including Catholic AIDS Action, including Intra-Health Namibia. We have NAST, we have Lifeline Childline, and we've got Star for Life. So these are the local partners that are working on dreams. And also currently we have a newer ministry partner through the Ministry of Youth and Sport that is also implementing dreams, and this is because of their mandate for targeting young people, and also the mandate to provide economic strengthening and financial literacy for young people. So that ministry is also a dreams partner. But we also partner and collaborate with Ministry of Health and Ministry of Gender and Ministry of Education. And I should say that, you know, the packages and the curriculum that we use in dreams, even the service provision, you know, it is government mandated. We use government curriculum when we are implementing dreams. And how they are selected, it's usually a competitive process, and it can be either global or local. So USAID will put a request for proposal, and organizations will apply through a proposal, and that's how they get to be recruited.
All right. Now, speaking of the work of Dreams itself, how many young women would you estimate have benefited from the program?
Thank you. So annually, Dreams reaches about 70,000 adolescent girls and young women that will receive this layered service package. And we do this through peer support groups, and also through the male champions, you know, and also the family a program that we also offer. I think for that we also meet over 10,000 parents, and including male.
It's quite a holistic approach. It really targets each sector of the community.
Exactly.
Now, Dreams has been in existence for about 8 years. Since then, what would you say are your proudest accomplishments?
Yeah, maybe about 5 years in Namibia.
About 5 years in Namibia, but okay, it's also all right.
About 5 years. So some of the key accomplishments include over 17,000 adolescent girls and young women have started taking PrEP. This is after they've been assessed for HIV risk. We've also seen or met 13,000 adolescent girls that have received critical GBV prevention services. And over 400 adolescent girls and young women have been trained as mentors for the Dreams project, and these young women have gone on to be employed into the project. And the mentors are also role models for the adolescent girls and young women that they work with, but they are also future leaders in their communities. Yes. And we've also seen about 14,600 adolescent girls that have been supported to attend school. And this also includes those girls that have dropped out of school, taking them back into school. It also includes a provision of STEM, science, technology, and subjects, So to ensure that for those girls that are either doing NAMCO or they're in grade 12, that they proceed to secondary school, because ultimately we want all the girls to complete school. Yes. And we also have about 425 young women that have supported to complete vocational school. Right. And among those, we have about 347 that we have linked to paid internship, including job placements. So what we do with the vocational training is that once a girl has completed their vocational school, we give them, if they were doing joinery, for instance, or they did welding, so we will give them what we call a starter pack. So a starter pack would include the necessary tools that she needs to be able to do her work, which includes, the toolbox, if and and the security or the overalls, I didn't want to call them overalls.
Overalls, yes,
Yes.
But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, to make sure that, you know, when she gets out there, she is ready.
She's equipped.
She's equipped.
I do have to say it's admirable that you are concerned with every stage of these girls' progression. Thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so I've been talking to Ms. Molisa Manyando, who is the USAID Project Management Specialist, about DREAMS. Could you just say the acronym once more? DREAMS stands for?
Determined. Resilient. Empowered. AIDS-free. Mentored and safe.
Mentored and safe. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is still Africa Good Morning. You know, Diana, I found that conversation very informative. It's always good to see such initiatives being run for such a long time in Namibia. Now, right now, we're going to cross over to Zambia and find out the news on the ground from one Mike Sichula. Good morning, Mike. Happy Africa Day. Mike, it seems like you're muted. We currently cannot hear you. Could you just check your device quickly? We seem to be having issues crossing over to Mr. Mike Sichula. All right, perhaps we'll take a short break and we'll be back. You are still with Africa Good Morning.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Diana, what do you love most about being African?
What can I say? You know, God could have made me anything in this world,
Yes.
and He made me a black woman.
So-
and honestly, being black.
That works. That's
Yeah.
what works for you. I
Yeah.
like that. I love the weather. I love African
the
weather.
weather.
Let's have a look at the weather forecast.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. We're still hoping to reach our correspondent. But right now, let's get into economic news stories. And there's more news on the African Bank. African Bank returns to profit and reopens lending taps. African Bank returned to profit in 6 months end March thanks to lower bad debt charges, a growing loan book, and a continuing rise in its retail deposits. The bank recorded a net profit of 257 million rand, bouncing back from a loss of 135 million rand in the 6 months ended on 31 March 2021. At a group level, when one includes African Bank's insurance operations, net profit rose to 372 million rand from 152 million rand in March 2021. The group's credit impairment charge fell from 850 million rand to 658 million rand. African Bank continues to attract more retail customer deposits, including transactional banking balances. Retail customer deposits rose to 10.96 billion rand from 8.6 billion rand. Not only is the bank growing its retail deposit book, but its lending book is growing again. And this is positively impacting its net interest margins, said the bank. In 2020, African Bank tightened its lending criteria, which led to a substantial decline in new loans disbursed since the start of the pandemic. But the bank gradually began to relax its lending criteria in the 2021 financial year, which started to bear fruit in the current reporting period. Also, in this half, African Bank also wrote its inaugural corporate loan. The bank's retail loan disbursements increased by 89% year on year from 3.3 billion rand in March 2021 to 6.3 billion rand this March. The bank's customer loan balances have climbed to 19.6 billion rand from 16.7 billion rand. Thanks to this, African Bank is earning more interest income. Its net interest margin increased by 11%, which also benefited from the fact that its cost of funding is falling after it re-entered the domestic wholesale funding market. And I think it is important to note there is a difference between the African Development Bank and the African Bank.
Of course. Now, Ghana ramps up interest rates again as inflation climbs. Ghana's central bank on Monday raised its main interest rate by 200 basis points to 19% to curb inflationary pressures and promote macroeconomic stability, Governor Ernest Addison said. In March, the Bank of Ghana raised its policy rate by 250 basis points to 17%, the largest hike in its history, to stem runaway inflation in one of West Africa's more prosperous nations as the government cut spending to reduce the budget deficit and save a sliding local currency. But in April, the consumer inflation rate in the gold, oil and cocoa producer hit an 18-year high of 23.6%. The committee took the view that it needed to decisively address the current inflationary pressures to re-anchor expectations and help foster macroeconomic stability, Addison told a press briefing in the capital, Accra. The rapid depreciation of Ghana's cedi has slowed, but the currency has still lost over a quarter of its value since the year began. Capital outflows have entirely offset a $1.3 billion trade surplus gain from a 61% jump in crude oil export revenues in the first quarter. Addison said that it had created an overall balance of payments deficit of $934.5 million in the first quarter compared to $429.9 million in the same period last year.
Tanzania to spend up to $200 million on 5 new ATCL planes. Tanzania will spend 468 billion shillings to purchase new aircraft for Air Tanzania Company Limited in the coming financial year. This was said by the Minister of Works and Transport, Professor Makame Mbarawa, on Monday, May 23, while tabling the ministry's budget in Parliament. Professor Mbarawa said government was determined to turn Tanzania into a transport and logistics hub in East and Central Africa, and that it has signed contracts for the purchase of 5 more aircraft for ATCL. The contracts will see the country purchasing a Dash 8 Q402 Boeing B737-9 MAX, a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, and a Boeing 767-300F for cargo. The purchases of the planes, which are expected to arrive early next year, will bring ATCL's fleet to 16 aircraft.
Now in international news, Samsung commits 5.6 trillion rand in investments, aims to be global tech frontrunner. Samsung Group on Tuesday unveiled a massive $356 billion investment blueprint for the next 5 years, aimed at making it a frontrunner in a wide range of sectors from semiconductors to biologics. The new figure is an increase of more than a third over its earlier plan announced last year. The tech giant is South Korea's largest conglomerate, and its overall turnover is equivalent to a fifth of national gross domestic product. Samsung Electronics, its flagship subsidiary, is the world's biggest smartphone maker. The investment plan would bring long-term growth in strategic businesses and help strengthen the global industrial ecosystem of crucial technology, Samsung said in a statement. The 80,000 new jobs would be created primarily in core businesses, including semiconductors and biopharmaceuticals, through 2026.
That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Up next, economic indicators.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news, and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact Evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
You're watching Africa Good Morning. Now we are going to head on over to Cape Town, where we speak to our correspondent Ari Gogad to give us the news on the ground in South Africa. Good morning, Ari, and happy Africa Day.
Yes, likewise. Happy Africa Day for you as well, Dan. And hello, Ashwin. Nice to talk to you guys.
It's a beautiful day. Now, starting off, the embattled South African power utility Eskom has approached the Constitutional Court to seek leave to appeal a High Court ruling in 2020 where Eskom need to supply 2 municipalities electricity, besides the fact that they owe Eskom billions of rands. Please tell us more on this.
Yes, it's going to court, to the Constitutional Court. It's a difficult situation for Eskom. We all know they're embattled and they don't get their money from the municipalities. That makes it difficult. We've got load shedding, etc., in South Africa. That is 2 municipalities that owe quite a bit. It is one in the Free State that owes 1.3 billion South African rand, and the one in Mpumalanga, 1.5 billion. Collectively, all the municipalities in South Africa owe about 30 to 40 billion South African rand to Eskom, so that's not good enough. I think the sad thing here is that Eskom understandably needs the money, but the municipalities don't pay that, and the consumers, the ratepayers, argue that they pay mostly pay-as-you-go meters, so the money gets to the municipalities, but the municipalities don't get the money to Eskom. So it leaves them with no option but to challenge that. And the sad thing is that the consumer, the ratepayers, are going to feel it very hard if that Constitutional Court argues in or give the ruling in favor of Eskom.
All right, Ari. Now, in your next 2 stories, the Chief Director for Permitting at South Africa's Home Affairs has been dismissed as a result of the permanent resident permits given to Shepard Bushiri and his family. And in your other story, it's not officially been called a 5th wave. Could you elaborate on both?
Yes, I'll briefly do that. I think I was hoping not to talk about Bushiri anymore, but it's a sad case in South Africa. People that face fraud charges, that they skip bail and then skip the country. It is allegedly that there's 100 million rand that's missing from the church. But anyway, that's the separate side. The one that was attended to was the chief director of permitting, Rodney Mahule. There he is. He's been found guilty after a lengthy disciplinary process. He's been found guilty of gross dishonesty, gross negligence, and also non-compliance to the Immigration Act. So those are very serious cases. Sad to see that the person in his position could fall for money, so to say. Probably there was money handed over for him to do that. But anyway, that was because Bushiri got residency that he didn't deserve. Also going on to the cases related to COVID-19, as you mentioned, Ashwin, it is still not an official fifth wave. We've been hearing in South Africa for 2-3 months. There's a fifth wave on its way. We're probably in it. I don't know if everybody that gets COVID-19 reports it. But at the moment, officially 4,227 positive cases the last 24 hours in South Africa, a positivity rate of 15.7%. That is not too bad. It's been around 20%. That is alarming. The last few days, there's 2 variants detected. Everybody is just looking out for that. But at the moment, the Institute of Communicable Diseases say that it's not officially a fifth wave, but there's definitely lots of cases around us still in South Africa.
Now, of course, government is under pressure from members of parliament to explain when interventions and financial help will reach people affected by floods in KwaZulu-Natal 6 weeks after floods ravaged the province. What is the story on this?
Yes, they've been challenged by from within, from people within the government, saying that there was a big statement made by the president right on 6 weeks ago after the floods that said that they will ring-fence 1 billion South African rand for help in that province, and that's not been rolled out. So that is the big argument now. Now the Treasury say that there's not new money for that. They must prioritize current budgets to allow that 1 billion to be given to the people that need that. So it's a difficult situation as it is. The last weekend there was more floods, and actually, sadly, 2 workers of the municipality also passed away when they were presumed that they passed away. They have not been found. Their car was swept away in floods this past weekend. So it continues to be a challenge. That wouldn't cost 1 billion rand. Apparently, the estimate is it's going to cost 25 billion rand to rectify the infrastructure. So hopefully that money will get to the right place. It's been 6 weeks.
Well, it's kind of difficult going into the next story, Ari, because we're not talking about people who are very much on the opposite side of the scale. South African billionaires Nicky Oppenheimer and Johan Rupert still head the list of South Africa's richest. Please get into that.
Yes, also kind of reluctantly, I'm reporting that I didn't know that it was a race, but it seems to be a race.
Apparently.
Me and you must get into that race, Ashwin. So anyway, they're 231 and 232 in the world. It's crazy numbers. The Oppenheimers are worth 134 billion South African rand. That is Nicky Oppenheimer. He here to his grandfather's mining riches, fortunes. And then the Ruperts, they have luxury goods, and they just 300 million behind him. So that is Patrick Motsepe. Great to see that he's doing well. He's the mining chief, and he's earning his money, and he's doing great and investing in sport teams and doing a great job in South Africa. I love him. He's also worth a lot, 30 billion South African rand, I think, but he's plowing back. Everybody, I suppose, plowing back, but I love what Motsepe is doing. So hopefully me and you can reach that as well, Ashwin.
Oh, yes, certainly. Of course, you know, Ari, we do have plans to play golf in Scotland, so it must happen. Thank you very much for bringing us the stories from South Africa.
Absolutely lovely. Great day for everyone. Goodbye.
All right, cheers, Ari. This is still Africa Good Morning. After the break, we'll be back with a face you may or may not recognize with your sports. Stay with us.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
You may have just seen Ari, but you know what? You're going to see him again as he brings us our sports news.
Good day everyone, a time for international sport, and it's a big tennis tournament in Paris. It is the Roland Garros that's on its way. It's the week one, and already there's been two big seeds that fell out in the women's section of the draw. So it was the defending champion in the women's draw. It is Barbara Krejcikova of the Czech Republic, and she's out in the first round. It's only happened twice before that a defending champion lost in the first round of the following year, and that happened now to Krejcikova. She lost against Diane Parry, and Paris. She is from France, and the score there was 1-6, 6-2, and 6-3. She started off well, Krejcikova, but she was out for 3 months because of injury, so she was definitely not fully prepared as she would have liked, but still she lost, unfortunately, in the first round. It is Diane Parry of France that goes through to the second round. Also the number 5 seed, that is Annette Gotv. She's from Estonia, and she went out also in the first round, unfortunately, to Alja Tomjakovic. She is from Australia, and the score there was 7-6 and 7-5. And other news from the top seeds is that the number 1 seed, Iga Swiatek, she's through to the next round. She had an easy first round win against Lesia Strunenko, and the score there was 6-2 and 6-love. So Iga Swiatek through to the next round. She's the favorite. She won the last 5 tournaments that she played in. Also a big name that fell out was unfortunately Naomi Osaka of Japan. She went down to Amanda Anisimova. Amanda Anisimova, she is from the United States, and the score there was 7-5 and 6-4. News from the men's draw is that Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal, both of them safely through in the first round, and it was Rafael Nadal, the number 5 seed, that beat Jordan Thompson 6-2, 6-2, and also 6-2 in the third set. And 1 seed that did go out in the first round is Riley Opelka. He is from the United States. Big serving, Riley Opelka, a very big, tall American, and he lost against Filip Krajinovic, and the score there was 7-6, 6-2, and 6-3. On to some soccer news, and it was announced by the Confederation of Africa Football of CAF, is the abbreviation. CAF announced that Zimbabwe and Kenya will not be part of the qualifying rounds for the African Cup of Nations that will start in June. That is because of, in March this year, FIFA announced that they barred the 2 countries, they barred Kenya and Zimbabwe from FIFA because of political interference, and CAF, the Confederation of African Football, said that they need confirmation 2 weeks before the qualifiers start in June that all is well, and that those 2 countries are allowed to play under FIFA, and so that was not done. According to FIFA, they failed to meet the criteria to lift the suspension, so unfortunately Kenya and Zimbabwe are still suspended at FIFA, and they won't be able to play in any Confederation of Africa Cup qualifiers. That is for Africa. That is for the African Cup of Nations that will be in Ivory Coast in 2023. And now we continue with Formula One racing news, and it was the Spanish Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen over the weekend, and the constructors' points at the moment after the 5 races that was done already. It is Red Bull that overtook Ferrari now. Red Bull had a 1-2 result, first and second result in Spain. So the points at the moment, Red Bull 195, that is the Constructors' Championship, followed by Ferrari 169. In third position, it is Mercedes-Benz on 120. There was controversy, however, in the 1-2 of Red Bull over the weekend in Spain. It was Sergio Perez that was asked to drop back for Max Verstappen to overtake him. They're both in the same team, and it seemed to be team orders. And at the time or after the race, it was Sergio Perez that said that it is very unfair. But after discussions after the race, it was team principal Christian Horner that came out and said that all is well now and that Perez understands clearly now. Conclude today's international sport. Let's go to soccer news as well. It is the English Premier League that came to an end, and the Chelsea Soccer Club is still in the news, and that is because the Chelsea is being sold. It is the owner, Russian owner, that is Roman Abramovich, that is selling the club, and that happened a few months ago because of the Russian invasion into Ukraine, Abramovich being a Russian citizen. But also it seems like the government of Britain, the British government, will approve the sale this week. Chelsea will be sold this week, or the deal will be concluded. That's international sports news for now, and I hope you have a great day. We talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
That brings us to the end of the show, but before we sign off, let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast, just in case you missed the top stories. At least 11 civilians killed in Burkina Faso village attacks, says governor. Jihadists kill 30 in northeast Nigeria. Ukraine war, Russian soldier Vadim Shishimarin jailed for life over war crime. 3 cases of monkeypox suspected in Morocco. Africa Development Bank approves $1.5 billion for food crisis. African Bank returns to profit and reopens lending taps.
Those have been our top stories. Thank you very much for staying with Africa Good Morning from the top of the hour on DSTV channel 285, Gotv channel 94 and oneup2.com. The same spaces you can catch the show repeating from 8:30. You can also send your comments and any content to our Facebook and Twitter pages at Africa Good Morning. Do stay safe out there. Sanitize, social distance, wear your mask. But from Diana Massa and myself, have a beautiful, beautiful Africa Day. Swera Jaganaka.